let's talk about Jordan pushing me up against a wall. Jordan Plotner, Allison's chief of staff. My former friend, Jordan, putting his hands on me. My friend who I recruited and recommended to be Allison's chief of staff. Pushed for him to get a higher date. Pushed for him to get a higher salary. That Jordan. I've never talked publicly about this, and I've talked about it in writing. I've mentioned it in other posts, but not on video. Talk to you like this. So, I hate it. I hate that this happened. I hate that I just used passive language to describe it, because I hate that he did that to me. And, 1 second your feet are planted in one place, and the next second they're in another place, and your body is moved and you didn't move it. And that is not great. And maybe you think, oh, that's no big deal. Maybe that's no big deal. Is that a big deal? Can't we just pretend that's not a big deal? And I've gone through that myself. But, just think about it for a second. It's not normal. It's not normal for someone to push you up against a wall at your workplace. In fact, I had to think back 25 years to my first job to think of a similar incident. A similar violent incident at work. I was traveling for work in Florida. I was hanging out with this man after work and during the daytime, and he tried to block me from leaving his apartment. I remember that I banged my knee into his door as I was getting out of there. And that wasn't in the office, it was work adjacent. And I'm sure some people would judge me for hanging out socially with this man from the client business that I was there working for. I was young and fresh out of college, and I thought, of course I can go hang out with the men, just like I am a man. I guess this guy thought something was going to happen, and I did not think that. So we had what you'd call a disagreement. And I didn't report this. What was I going to do? Say, hey, boss, I had drinks with Rick, and when he learned we weren't hooking up, he tried to keep me in his apartment. What was my boss going to do? Go complain to our client that was giving us business and money? Not happening. It never even occurred to me to complain. It was 1998. I had taken women's studies. I thought I knew everything. I thought I was entitled to be one of the boys. Still do. We should. We are entitled. But anyway, in the intervening years until I was 45 years old, no one ever put their hands on me like that at work in anger until Jordan Plotner. There were a couple other things by Republican members, actually, but they were different, and I will get into those in a different time. But so what did Jordan do? We were kind of in the middle of some disagreement. Not in that moment, but more generally. And over the prior day or so. And I remember he wasn't really speaking to me, and that was so weird because I had known him for over a decade and we were friends. We worked together a long time, so that was just very unusual. And it was the second day of this 2-day work retreat. So it's just nonstop work, and we had a social event the night before after day one. And I remember that he was not speaking to me at this event. And a candidate who soon after became a new member witnessed this and was immediately clocking that there was some beef between us. So that was embarrassing to me. And here's this person who's about to be a member, and Jordan and I are both hanging out with him for the first time. And I was embarrassed for myself, and I was embarrassed for him acting that way. So anyway, the next day, day 2 of this retreat, we're at the hotel again, the conference space, and he and I are in the hallway outside the big meeting room and discussing something that needed to be done. And that's when he did it. Just out of the blue, he pushes me up against the wall and moved me a couple feet and held me there with his forearm. So I'm like this, and I'm my eyes are skimming back and forth oh my God, please let no one see this happening. And so we're the only ones in the hallway, but somebody could have come out of this meeting room anytime, go to the restroom or take a phone call or whatever. So quickly after that, it was over, a few seconds, long enough. And then he acted like this tension was broken. Like he made some comment like, you can't be mad at me, or you can't disagree with me. And it was half joking, like he was explaining that he had been upset about us not being aligned on stuff. Like he needed us to be cool or he would be upset. And those moments afterwards, I was like, okay. And I walked away from him, went towards the restroom, and I think I was in shock, but I was also relieved that it was over. And I think I was even mumbling to myself, like, what the fuck just happened? And I took some deep breaths and just tried to calm down, and then I just went back to work in the meeting room, emailing with our lawyers about redistricting and probably some ballot board stuff. There was always a lot going on. There really was that few days. And I remember going to Char Bar with a couple work buddies after the retreat ended, and not having fun because I was just reflecting on this incident, and I was having these worried thoughts like, what have I done to my work life by bringing Jordan back in here? I thought he would be good, obviously, or I would not have recommended him. So I was having a lot of doubts, and it did not feel good. So there you go. That's what happened. And I did not report that. Well, what was I going to do again? What am I going to do? Say, Allison, my friend who I just suggested you hire and who you did hire, just pushed me up against the wall out there. Just right out there. How could I say that to her? I recommended him. Was I going to go to the Republicans? Was I going to say this to this HR person who'd been harassing me for 2 years already, like what he just did? Like, no, it was not an option. It was not functional. So I just tried to put it in a box and chalked it up to his whatever, emotional dysregulation. Chose to view it as a one-off and just hoped that it was just a weird thing that I hoped would never happen again. But I was not happy about it at all, of course. And that's really one of the reasons I grappled with even filing the EEOC charge, because I knew if I filed it, I was going to have to include that. How was I not going to include it? Especially with all the subsequent incidents with Jordan, not physical, but his other conduct, not handling the discrimination, then participating in it, then retaliating against me for reporting it. Yeah, I knew that I was going to have to include the physical incident. And nobody wants to ruin a guy's life. It sounds so trite, but it is a real consideration. And I also didn't want to be disbelieved. I don't want to be a person that some man does that to. I'm the great and powerful Sarah Cherry. I've been protecting myself with resting bitch face since I was 16 years old. Shit, younger than that. How old are you in 4th grade? So when something like that happens, when a man decides to move your body and pin you, and out of nowhere, it kind of bursts that bubble of safety and confidence that you think you're in, that you were somehow doing all the right things to keep that kind of thing at bay. And, I wasn't doing the right things. I was just lucky. Maybe I'm a little more intimidating than your average girl, but it doesn't really matter. If they want to shut you up, they can just choose to overpower you. And I really hate that feeling. I hate knowing that. So, what should happen to Jordan for doing that? Do we throw him off a cliff? Or any man who does something like that? I don't, it's really not my problem. It's really not for me to figure out, honestly. But I know one thing, at the very least, he should apologize. And at the very least, he and Allison should acknowledge that that was not right. And that should not have happened. And that it did happen. But what she did instead, what Allison Russo did instead, When she learned what he did, here's what she did. In a footnote in the House response to my EEOC charge, where this incident was just one part of the series of events, in a footnote, they said, "This has been vehemently disputed." So note the passive language. Has been vehemently disputed. Who disputed it? Where? Where is this dispute? I made my statement under oath. Has anyone disputed it under oath? They have not. And so what else did she do? Did she ask him if he did it? Did she ask other people in the office, hey, has Jordan ever done anything like that to you? And she should. She should ask other people. If she didn't, it's because she doesn't want to know. And getting that response back, like a footnote, just dropping that into a footnote was so insulting. And they also said that it wasn't credible that I would not have reported such a thing. It's all such standard shit that they say about women. It does not matter what you do. If you report it, you're lying. If you don't report it, well, why didn't you report it? What doesn't matter. They will discredit you no matter what you do. I know the truth, and people know that I tell the truth. Her campaign manager, for example, knows me and knows that I tell the truth. So, who wants to defend what Allison did here? Who wants to stand by that? Who stands by and supports a Democratic leader saying, that's been vehemently disputed, and casting doubt on me because I didn't report to the broken Republican House HR machine? I haven't even started to tell you how messed up the House HR machine is, and we will get to that. But it is Democrat 101 to not hold that against a woman, not impugn a woman's honesty and character because she didn't report her mistreatment. And we're not going to pretend that we don't know all the reasons women don't report their mistreatment. Who wants to stand by Allison doing nothing when she learned of this? People want to endorse that? I don't think that they should. I don't think that they should. And I get it. People don't know all the facts, but we're going to know. Uncover your eyes and ears. We're not going to sweep these things under the rug. We're just not going to. Okay, one of my close people says he likes what I'm saying, but wants to know more about the break. Like, what caused Jordan in that moment to disregard all the risks and lose control and act violently? And risk being seen by another person. Anybody could have come by. And I will tell you, I can't know what was in his head. I have my theories, especially in light of subsequent events over the next year. I think that Jordan was trying to intimidate me. He did not want disagreement, and he was warning me to stop it. And in the moment, I didn't want to believe that was what was going on. Because again, we'd worked together a lot in the past, so this was different. The only difference here was I had elevated him to a higher position to be my boss. I wish I could tell you exactly what it was. Like we were arguing about X, and then he blew up and pushed me against the wall. But it just wasn't clear like that. And it just seemed like something had been simmering for him over the prior 24 hours. And then he just out of the blue, had this outburst. And I didn't need this as a sweetener to my EEOC charge. I have plenty in it. I wasn't casting about looking for more things to pad it with. And, but how could I leave this incident out? That would have been weird. And what's Allison's state of mind that she feels comfortable saying she doesn't believe me? First of all, I don't even believe that. I think that she does believe me, but was still willing to say in writing that she doesn't. And that's, well, needless to say, very disappointing. And she has badly underestimated me. And I also think she has badly underestimated this community. because most people are not going to be led around by the nose by someone who's trying to play queen bee. Okay, end postscript and good night. I am the world's best video blogger. I know which direction my camera is facing at all times.